Let's take you across our border. South African sniffer dogs and their handlers have been working amidst the ruin and rubble left by Cyclone Idai in Zimbabwe. The team, which includes members of the SAPS, has already located 16 sites where the remains of victims are likely to have been buried. The 16 places where bodies are thought to be buried are in Chimanimani's Ngangu township. For an update on the situation there, we're now joined by our Zimbabwean Correspondent Ephert Musekiwa. Ephert, thank you for being with us. Just for a start, I think as South Africa, we've been focusing on Mozambique, where the cyclone made landfall first and where there's been just a huge death toll and huge damage. Give us a sense of how much and how big an area was affected in Zimbabwe to start off.
Well, good evening, Francis. In Zimbabwe, it's mainly two provinces that are on the eastern side of Zimbabwe, that is Manicaland and Masvingo. But the hardest hit was Manicaland, where you have two entire districts that suffered the brunt of the cyclone, and these districts are Chipinge district and Chimanimani district. In Chipinge, like you indicated, you'll find a place called Copper that was hardest hit. That this is where the South African rescue team was today, where they were doing their search and rescue. The second place is Ngangu. This is where they were yesterday and where they did the search and rescue. Just to update on the figures, as of this evening, I've just confirmed that today they've added another 10 sightings where they've indicated in Copper that there might be remains of buried people. So the total now is 13 from yesterday plus the 10 from today, which is about 23 new sightings that have been confirmed by the search and rescue team from South Africa.
There's often this movement from rescue when you're bringing out victims alive to recovery, where it's just bodies. Is this simply the recovery stage effort? Nobody believed to be stuck somewhere alive, perhaps?
Well, speaking to officials, they are saying that, remember, this happened on the 14th, the 15th, so it's about more than 2 weeks now. So the chances are diminishing every day to find anyone still buried alive. They would have gone without food for the past 2 weeks. They would have been in conditions that are unfavorable. So they're saying anyone who might be trapped up to this point, the chances of finding them still alive are very minimum, and all they are hoping for, or all the relatives that are digging through the rubble and digging through the mudslides, all they are hoping is just to find the remains of their loved ones. The hopes of finding anyone still alive have diminished as of now.
And we understand concerns about school children still missing, so then hopes have basically faded there as well.
Yes, the school children are still indeed missing. They've been reported missing. You would also recall that a lot of schools in Chimanimani, especially close to the area where that was hardest hit by the cyclone, the schools have been closed. I think the total, the last I checked, was close to about 40 schools that have been closed within the district. So really, most of the school children are actually not going to school either because the school has been closed, or the school is inaccessible. Bridges are still not been reconstructed. The roads are still not accessible. So it's very difficult for school children to actually attend school, and also the trauma of knowing that their colleagues are still missing. I think it's also a factor that has actually led to the authorities closing down the schools in the areas for now.
So it's certainly nobody's getting back to their daily lives. If it finally just give us a sense of what you're seeing. So we see some visuals, but describe what it's like to be in these areas, in the aftermath, in the devastation, really.
Well, when you walk in these areas, you see people. You see they are talking, they are expressing their feelings. Yesterday I spoke to some who indicated that they are actually traumatized. They are thinking of actually leaving the area. They say the horrors that they experienced, the horrors that they saw, they are no longer, in any condition to keep walking the streets at night, because they know the streets. They know an entire street which was wiped away. They knew each and everyone who was killed in those mudslides. So they are saying that they no longer feel very comfortable living in the same places. Then you have others that are saying they will remain in there because it is a reminder of what transpired. They want to always have this memory of their loved ones, just to know the places or just to know the area where they passed on. So the feeling that you get from people is different. But as you walk there, as you see the amount of devastation, even the search and rescue team that came from South Africa yesterday confessed that this is the first time in their lives that they've seen so much level of destruction. This is the first time that they've seen so much death in a very confined spaces. So the feeling is different. You see people that have lost hope. You also see people that are still hopeful that they might find their relatives. You see people that are still hopeful that they might find the remains of their loved ones. So it depends. At the present moment, I think that the feelings are varied, but it's people that are just hoping to find the remains of their loved ones.
All right, and South African sniffer dogs and personnel involved very quickly. Ephert, to what extent has the water receded, and to what extent is there a concern where you are about waterborne illnesses, for example?
Well, most of the water in the areas that we visited has washed away, or there's no longer any flooding. What remains is the rubble or the debris from the mudslides. So even clean water authorities, the army and all the civil protection unit that has been on the ground, they've been able to bring to supply fresh water to the residents. So the waterborne diseases or cases of waterborne diseases have not been reported, and they are saying it's highly unlikely that there will be any waterborne disease because they've taken measures to provide for water. But basically, they are just worried that with the decomposition of bodies, other diseases might arise. They are saying that also because of this area having had floods, there is also likelihood of malaria, because there are still some areas where you still have ponds of water, and they're saying that because of the temperatures and these ponds of water, mosquitoes might actually start to breed. Yesterday, we saw distribution of mosquito nets to most of the residents. The civil protection or the donor agencies or the aid agencies were on the ground handing out mosquito nets and training and teaching the locals how to use these mosquito nets that they brought. So I think the worry for Zimbabwe is mostly now to do with diseases like malaria more than waterborne diseases.
Thank you very much, our Zimbabwean correspondent Ephert Musekiwa. And the cyclone was horrible, sure, and the aftermath indeed horrible as well.